My Charms Are Wasted on Kuroiwa Medaka is a typical comedy romance manga written by Rankuze. The manga started on May 26th of this year as a serialization of a one-shot released a couple months earlier. The story follows a pretty, popular, and slightly pretentious high school girl named Mona Kawaii. Actually, popular would be an understatement. The girl passes through guys' confessions like a Catholic nun. Everyone at school adores her. She's the class golden retriever where everyone wants to get close to her, talk to her, and rub her belly? Well, I mean, if she insists. All the people she has ever met have fawned over her, treated her like a goddess, you know, the deal? A good tier 1 Twitch worship if you catch my drift? That 0.1% OnlyFans praise? Yo, I bet even the lunchroom rodents kowtow to her as she passes by. However, there is one guy in the class who won't give her the time of day. The titular character, Kuroiwa Medaka, or as Mona calls him, the bastard. Kuroiwa is a transfer student who maintains either an uninterested or slightly annoyed face when talking to or looking at Mona. Mona, being someone who has only received admiration and affection from those around her, can't stand Kuroiwa's lack of interest towards her. Therefore, she makes it her mission to charm Kuroiwa to make him fall in love with her. Thus, shenanigans of hilarity ensue where Mona will try to entice Kuroiwa through some romance trope scenarios, and sometimes just going all in with the sexual tension. I was actually surprised by how far Mona went in the first chapter, but she comes down in the later chapters as her more overt forms of seduction prove ineffective. And yet, despite all of Mona's efforts so far, Kuroiwa seems completely uninterested. Or so Mona thinks. You see, Kuroiwa is actually a monk from a temple who must cleanse his mind of perverted thoughts as per his teachings. He is in fact quite charmed by Mona, like everyone else, but uses all 110% of his willpower to avoid responding to her advances. When Mona's coming on extra hard, he chants the mantras he learned as a monk in his head to clear his heart of all desires. Now I know what you might be thinking. Man, this series sounds rather repetitive and predictable. To that I say, no, this is not Takagi-san. No, but seriously, I love Takagi-san. While I initially thought the premise would get tiring by the 6th chapter, I found myself enjoying each new chapter more and more. Now granted, as of the upload of this video, the series has only been going for 12 chapters, so I'm likely getting ahead of myself in terms of the non-tiring storyline. Regardless, I do have to applaud the mangaka for making the story feel fresh and interesting, despite the simplistic nature of the story. While the story is mostly comedic, the nice romantic segments where Kuroiwa will perform unexpected romantic gestures towards Mona, such as catching her from falling, moving her away from falling objects, and helping her stand are pretty precious and really show the romantic feelings of our main characters. One thing that I greatly enjoy about this manga is the creation of an understandable reason as to why our two lovebirds just haven't asked each other out yet. I really despise the dense protagonist type who thinks that his childhood crush is still his best friend after the third kid. So when the protagonist has an outside reason besides, frankly, inhuman stupidity to not go after his crush who pines after him, I feel more interested in the relationship's development. Speaking of development, the whole religious component of Kuroiwa's character I think will either lead to some interesting conflict further down the line, when he realizes just how much he loves Mona, or serves as a pretty comedic moment when he realizes from his mentor, or whoever taught him, that being a monk doesn't mean he can't have a romantic relationship. This is of course just a hypothetical situation, but you can imagine the type of scenarios that can emerge from this aspect of his character, and I love that. Another thing I enjoy about this manga is the lack of a love triangle. Now, I myself can get into a good old love triangle, or even pentagon given my investment in the story. But I find that many romantic triangles in both manga, novels, movies, you name it, can be rather annoying. In non-romantic stories, they often feel forced, acting only as a ploy to grab a larger demographic, and not adding much to the themes of the narrative. Even in romance stories, they can feel pretty contrived and formulaic. I understand the appeal of love triangles. They're an easy way to insert conflict into the story. However, the conflict can often feel unnecessary and, at worst, unbearable. They can bog down the narrative down to a snail's pace, or just turn the story into a harem, where decisions are meaningless and investment is unrewarded. My Charms Are Wasted on Kuroiwa Medaka avoids this problem by simply not entertaining a romantic competitor. Spoilers for Chapter 4 onwards, a new character is introduced into the story. Her name is Haruno Tsubomi, and she's a Mona fanatic. She takes pictures of her without her knowing, and sees her as a bright light that makes the world a better place to live in. Creepy, but not unrealistic given fandoms. She's heads over heels for the gal, and honestly, who could blame her? At the start of the chapter, she starts to believe that Kuroiwa is a bad guy, as she sees Mona crying outside as Kuroiwa walks away. This was due to another one of those romance shenanigans that didn't go Mona's way. Haruno only grows to distrust Kuroiwa as she concludes that he might be coercing Mona to act nice to him. At this point in the story, I was quite worried about Haruno's role in the narrative. If her purpose was to slow the pace of the story through acting as a roadblock for the budding romance based on a simple, easy to clarify misunderstanding, I would dislike her. Luckily, that was not the case. Haruno decides to protect Mona and follows the two of them as they enter an empty room, phone ready and flashing to catch Kuroiwa in the act. She ends up seeing Mona flirting with Kuroiwa, trips, and falls on the two of them. Mona rushes out there in embarrassment, and this is where Haruno checks her phone and sees the flustered look on the picture she took of Mona's face. From this part of the story on, Haruno acts as the perfect wing woman for Mona, which I find utterly adorable. At first, Mona thinks that Haruno and Kuroiwa might be a couple, but once she sees the photos of herself on Haruno's phone, she understands the situation. I quite like how Haruno's presence in the story serves to bring the two lovers together rather than to arbitrarily separate them. When Mona believes Haruno is a potential threat, she tries going even further to attract Kuroiwa. After Haruno is revealed as an ally, she helps Mona get into romantic situations with Kuroiwa to help progress their love. She's perfect and I love her, and I'm angry with myself that I could ever potentially hate such a sweet cinnamon roll. The art for the manga is amazing. I like the designs for our three main characters. They feel distinct and help display each character's personality. The mangaka does a great job at selling Mona's beauty. Her expressions are priceless and really add to the comedic tone of the story. Kuroiwa's glasses and the dark text bubbles representing his internal chanting provide a similar entertaining effect. The paneling is simple but effective. Honestly, I can't ask for much more in terms of the art. Overall, I think the story is pretty good for a rom-com. The comedy hits, the romance kicks in at the right moments, the characters, in my opinion, are lovable, and the Mona has a bit of an ego on her. If you're a fan of rom-coms like maybe Takagi-san, or maybe Nagatoro, then I advise you to check it out. It isn't long right now, so it should take you no time at all to catch up. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you on the other side.